While the rest of the world drowns in urgent emails and frantic Monday meetings, you should be doing absolutely nothing. Not lazy nothing, not scrolling nothing, I mean strategic nothing. Here's the lie we've all bought into, that a fast start means a strong week, that the person answering messages at 7:03 a.m. is the one winning, that visibility equals productivity. It's not true. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why the most disciplined, highest performing people you know are doing the opposite of what everyone tells you to do on a Monday. They're not scrambling. They're not reacting. They're building something quiet, something almost invisible that turns into a fortress by Wednesday and a runaway advantage by Friday. I'm going to show you exactly how the Quiet Monday works, the science behind why it resets your brain, and the step-by-step architecture you can copy starting this week. Stay with me, because the answer to why you're burnt out by Wednesday is hiding in how you spend the first 2 hours of your Monday. Let's start with what's actually happening inside your brain on a typical Monday. You wake up, you open your phone, and within 90 seconds, you've already made 40 micro decisions. What to answer, what to ignore, what to worry about. None of them were chosen. All of them were reactions. This matters more than people realize. Every decision you make, even a small one, like whether to reply to a Slack message, draws from the same limited pool of mental energy. Researchers call it decision fatigue, and it doesn't care whether the decision was important. Your brain treats "should I answer this email" with almost the same cost as "should I approve this budget?" So by the time you sit down to do actual high-leverage work, the thinking that moves your week forward, you've already spent a chunk of your sharpest hours reacting to other people's priorities. This is the urgency trap, and it's disguised as productivity. Being on top of everything by 9 a.m. feels responsible. It feels like momentum, but it's borrowed energy, and the bill comes due by Wednesday, when you're foggy, irritable, and running on fumes. There's a cultural myth underneath all of this, that visibility equals value, that the person replying fastest is the person contributing most. But speed of response and quality of output are not the same thing, and chasing the first one quietly destroys the second. So if reacting is the trap, what's the alternative? This is where the Quiet Monday framework comes in, and it starts with something I call the zero-input morning. A zero-input morning means exactly what it sounds like. For a fixed window, 60 to 90 minutes, nothing comes in. No email, no Slack, no news, no calls. You are building a sensory barrier between your goals and the digital noise competing for your attention. Inside that window, you're not resting. You're doing silent administrative deep work, the unglamorous but critical tasks that usually get pushed aside because they're not urgent. Reviewing your calendar honestly, clearing lingering small tasks, and organizing what actually matters this week versus what only feels like it matters. Then comes the second layer, what I call a deep mapping session. This is where you sit, often just with a notebook, no screens, and visualize the trajectory of your week before a single external demand has had the chance to hijack it. You're not planning tasks, you're planning sequence. What needs your sharpest thinking and when? Here's the key distinction. You are designing your week before the week designs you. Most people let Monday's inbox write their priorities. The Quiet Monday flips that. Your priorities get written first, in silence, and the inbox has to fit around them. Now, this might sound counterintuitive, deliberately slowing down while everyone else is accelerating. But there's a real cognitive logic to it. Think of your focus like a battery. Every fast-paced, reactive task drains it a little. If you start Monday morning already draining that battery, you're running the rest of the week on a partial charge. But if you start with intentional friction, slowing your pace, reducing inputs, doing fewer things more deliberately, you're not falling behind, you're recharging before the demand hits. This is front-loading stillness. You're building a cognitive reserve on Monday specifically so that when Thursday's inevitable crisis shows up, and it will, you still have capacity left to handle it clearly instead of reacting from an already empty tank. And here's the mindset shift that matters most. Deliberate isolation isn't stagnation. It's not hiding from ambition. Choosing quiet on purpose is a tool. The same way an athlete chooses rest days not because they're lazy, but because recovery is part of how performance compounds. People who misunderstand this see a quiet Monday and assume someone is falling behind. In reality, that person is the only one who planned to still be sharp on Thursday.
Here's where it gets interesting. The quiet Monday isn't just about surviving one day well. It compounds. When Monday is handled with this kind of quiet precision, something like a snowball effect kicks in. Tuesday starts with a clear map instead of a blank scramble. Wednesday inherits organization instead of chaos. By the time most people are hitting their usual midweek wall, you're running on momentum you built 2 days earlier. The transition matters here too. The goal isn't to stay in planning fortress mode forever. At some point, you have to move into high-velocity execution. The skill is doing that transition without losing your sense of calm. You're not switching from stillness to panic. You're switching from stillness to focused motion, because the thinking has already been done. This creates a feedback loop. The more meticulously you organize on Monday, the less cognitive load the rest of the week demands from you. Fewer decisions get made in a rush. Fewer things fall through the cracks. And each week, that compounding advantage gets a little larger than the last.
Of course, none of this works if you don't defend it. And in 2026, defending a quiet morning is genuinely hard. Instant response culture doesn't reward stillness. It questions it. You'll feel pressure to prove you're on, even when being on is exactly what's draining you. Protecting this routine means being honest about what's actually urgent versus what only feels urgent because it arrived with a notification sound. Almost nothing that comes in during your first 90 minutes actually requires an instant reply. Most of it can wait 1 hour. That hour is where your edge lives. As your responsibilities grow, this philosophy has to scale with you. It's not a beginner's trick you outgrow. It's a foundation you build on. The version of you managing a bigger team or bigger workload needs the quiet Monday even more than the version of you starting out. And that's really the long-term transformation here. You stop being someone who reacts to the week as it happens to you, and you become someone who quietly dictates its terms from the very first hour.
So here's the challenge. This coming Monday, before you open a single notification, give yourself 60 minutes of zero input time. Map your week before your week maps you. You don't need to overhaul your whole life to feel the difference. You just need one quiet Monday to prove to yourself that stillness isn't falling behind. It's how you get ahead. If this reframed the way you think about your week, subscribe for more strategies like this one. And let me know in the comments, what does your Monday actually look like right now? I read every comment, and I want to hear where you're starting from. I'll see you in the next one.